Welcome to this week's edition of Strategies to Use in the Classroom to help increase student engagement and ownership. We will be exploring checklists and choice boards for the win. Let's get started. Hi guys, my name is Marsha Kish and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be exploring checklists and choice boards to help increase student engagement and ownership. You can find all these videos inside of our website and on dynaguide.org. So please make sure you take time to explore those. All right, we're looking at an example of a checklist. This is a 4-studio checklist, meaning the studios will go to a small group, they will go to an independent practice, they'll go to digital content, and they'll go to a future-ready activity. And while the students are doing that, they are going to be able to move either with a timer or they'll be able to move at their own pace, depending on where you are in the learning studios. The checklist is really important because it gives directions. It allows you to see how much time you're going to spend on an activity. It checks for quick understanding of the content. And it gives just that ownership of the students. Like, I don't have to go ask the teacher for questions. The checklist is going to be there. And the checklist is going to tell me. And if I can't figure it out on the checklist, I can ask a friend instead of going up and bothering the teacher. So that's one thing that I really like about the checklist. It allows the teacher to be with the students while she's conducting a small group. Go into a little bit more checklist. Okay, here's an example of a checklist. This is a one-day checklist with the option of a lock. The lock is set up that the students can't go to independent practice until they attend the small group. So they have to kind of do it in sequential order. They have to do everything, but they will eventually get to independent practice. I like this checklist because it's simple. It's at the beginning of the year. They're just introducing the students to the checklist. But when we get into checklist itself, we want more interaction, or else this checklist is just going to end up on the ground. So we want the students to engage with the checklist, mark it off, check how much time, put down their answers. Maybe they put in a bar graph. And I'll explain all that in just a minute. Here's another example of a checklist that has interactive points. When they're in a small group, they're going to be taking notes. And then when they're not with the teacher, they're going to be going in and answering questions. They have check boxes. It tells them what they need to do first, second, and third. I love this. Here's another example of a checklist. I love this checklist, but I do want to let you know that it's a little bit wordy for third grade. So we just want to be cautious of how many words we put into our checklist. We want short and concise directions, not too overwhelming. My overwhelming directions, like I have here, might be posted at the Future Ready Studio and or on Schoology, Canvas, Google Classroom, so on and so forth. Now we're going to be talking about what you should put into a checklist. So here are 10 elements to add to your checklist. Number 1, it's a checklist. There should be check-off boxes. This is a more than a 2-day checklist. I think they did it for 4 days. So therefore, they're going to be independent reading 3 different times. So there's 3 different check boxes. Number 2, add the date. The date is really important because that way you know what day you need to be giving it out to the students, but also when the students are walking around with their checklist, you want to make sure that this is the correct checklist. Another reason why to put the date is that you can quickly find it when you go Google search your Google Drive folder. You type in April, and April checklist will pop up. Number 3, add in studio names. Make sure that you are being consistent and calling the studios what they are. Small group, independent practice, digital content, and future ready. If you don't like the word future ready for a learning studio, then change it. But just make sure everybody on your team or in your building changes it to the same name. So make sure you add in studio names. Number 4, time amounts. How much time do you need to have to complete that activity? Number 5, simple directions. Just like we saw in that elementary example, it's great, but there was just too much wording. So you want to create short and to the point directions. Create your puppet and record. Remember, at your studio locations, you can have more in detailed directions. I think I'm on number 6, QR code. I love QR codes because, again, it puts me in right there for the students. I'm at a small group, but they can quickly go and Scan the QR code and hear me say the directions, or giving simple tricks and tips to how to complete that project. QR codes are great for voice directions or also for quick links to videos. Like if you're using an Edpuzzle, scan that, it'll take you right to the Edpuzzle. I think I'm number 7. I think for self-reflection. I should have had those numbered. I apologize if I have miscounted. Self-reflection is where the students, when they're done with that activity, they are going to color in that cute little face, either red, yellow, or green. Red, I'm struggling, I don't know what to do. Yellow, I'm getting it. And green, I'm good to go. I could teach somebody else. So they could color in how they are doing. Number 8, interact with the checklist. If you give a checklist like the first one that we saw, it's too basic. Those are going to end up on the floor. So you want some interaction element where students are filling in a bar graph or doing some reflection. So going in and highlighting and coloring that in, key. Number 9, signature box. You want to make sure you have the ability to sign off on the checklist. Those are kind of like quick little checkpoints. You're in your small group, you're working with a team, but when there's a break in the action, maybe the next group's coming back, students come back to you and they say, can you sign off on my checklist? Or when they come to your small group, you can sign off on those spots if they haven't completed. And I think this is my last one, number 10, lock and key. Sometimes we need to teach the students how to complete that activity. So on Wednesday, the teacher is going to go over how to complete the blurb character activity. So they can't do it until Wednesday after small group. A lock and a key system is just a signal saying you will be able to do this. You just have to wait to learn what to do before you go and do that activity. 10 things to add to a checklist. You guys, thank you for hanging tight with me this week. Make sure you check out our blog post. Make sure you go to DynaGuide. Make sure you're following me. There's so many things that we always love to share. Have a good week.